I did it too.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Felt good. Felt right.
This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
And this is Kyrsten Leister at burger_worker on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast.
Welcome to the show!
Yes! Welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com, more of our podcasts at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts, and you can like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And finally, you can also support us on Patreon at Patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer at the minimum rate of $1 per month for an exclusive RSS feed with content recorded specifically for Patreon supporters. And at the $5 level, you get that as well as commentary tracks recorded for the $5 patrons, and at the $10 level you get all of that plus early access to official content released on the Obsessive Viewer podcast and our associated podcasts, Tower Junkies and Anthology. I'm your host, the aforementioned Matt Hurt, and with me today is recurring co-host Kyrsten Leister, who can of course be found on Twitter at burger_lurker, and is currently doing flight attendant pantomiming.
You can't prove anything.
Yeah, I can. Not. You're right. So, yeah. Yeah. So, hi, Kyrsten. How's it going?
I was just, what I was doing, I wasn't doing flight attendant things.
What were you doing?
Just trying to distract you.
Oh, good. Well, I feel like I nailed that. So, I think I did pretty well. You did
better than I anticipated.
Yes.
I thought you were going to crack like an egg.
Nope. I am a consummate professional.
No.
Yeah. To find out how much of a professional I am, go to patreon.com and listen to the episode that is associated with this one. So, Kyrsten, how's it going? Like we haven't just spent 24 hours together?
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. Yeah. We're in a pandemic.
We are, yeah. And the cases are surging. So,
woohoo.
Yeah. We've been careful.
Hey, United States is number one, baby, in deaths.
Yep. We've got the best cases. We've got the best. We test so much, and
it's only because we test more. And it's the same reasoning behind. The only reason Biden is winning the elections is because they're counting all the votes.
Yeah, it's if
they didn't count all the votes.
Yeah.
Biden would still be winning.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yes. Oh, yeah. What I love, something that I didn't mention, and we'll talk very briefly about it, is that the idea that, how is it possible that Biden could win the election if he barely campaigned?
I never see anyone with a Biden flag on their truck. Who's voting for this guy?
Right. Maybe people that are upset.
People who aren't crazy people.
Yeah, that 250,000
you shouldn't revere your politicians like they're celebrities.
Exactly. Yes.
People treat it like their team won the Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that is so fucking dangerous.
Don't forget, these people work for you.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of, the American public hiring people and everything, you got a promotion at work.
Yeah. I did.
So, yeah, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. That was kind of the impetus of us hanging out this weekend.
Yeah, because we wanted to celebrate.
Yes. Also a belated birthday celebration.
Yeah, my birthday.
42?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for remembering.
42? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm old.
11.
Yeah, had a birthday.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything. I took the day off work.
Yeah.
So I could sleep in. That was nice.
A friend of mine, Pat, who hosts the Nerds You're Looking For podcast, his company, at least last I checked, the company he works for, it's interesting. They give, as part of like their PTO package and stuff or whatever, is that like if your birthday lands on a day that you're scheduled to work, you get the day off.
That's cool.
So yeah, something you should.
Kind of sucks for people who like. Well, I mean, I guess it's your birthday's not going to fall on a weekend every year. But if it does, like, still cool. Your birthday's on the weekend. Yeah. But I like ours because some companies, like, they designate a certain amount of days for certain things. Like, you have X many sick days. You have X many vacation days, and you have to use them for specific. I like ours because it's just a big package. Yes. You can use them for whatever you want.
I do like the big package.
Bet you do. I bet you do. In your butt.
So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a professional.
Yes. So that's exciting. Yeah.
Making that cruise money.
Yes, you're going on a cruise next year.
As long as the world is normal.
Assuming that
I hope by December 2021.
I hope so too.
Well, by then we will have had a competent president in office for almost a year who has an actual pandemic task force.
Yes.
So I'm hoping.
Biden doesn't even have a plan. It's like, it's right there on his fucking website. You see it right there.
He's also assigning people already.
Yes. Yeah. And the idiot Trump supporters, when.
Yeah, you got all you Trump supporters out there listening to this.
Yeah. The amount of people that were like, oh yeah, well, Biden's going to announce his coronavirus task force and everything on Monday. This was on Friday when he announced that he was going to do it on Monday. And people were like, does he not even realize that he's not president yet? It's like, that's the transition.
I mean, he's going to wait until his first day in and then start?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, I don't want to talk about politics anymore.
One last thing. I will say that the task force he put together, it's a little... I'll be transparent, I'm a little disappointed because it's just filled with doctors and scientists.
Not one relative of his?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, I'm excited for Major and Champ, though.
Good boys.
Yes.
Good boys.
So what
if you're like, oh yeah, this is a movie and TV review podcast?
Well, I was going to show you the trailer for Songbird, and I was going to say that we could talk about that. Let me play it real quick, and we can talk about it. So, so Songbird.
Beginning thermal scan. 3, 2, 1. Anomaly detected. Armed guards will be arriving in 4 to 6 hours. You must not attempt to leave your home, or you will be shot on sight.
This is my message to you.
I know you're in there.
They're coming. I have to let you go.
No. Sarah! Sarah!
Say goodbye to me.
Sarah, I'm not letting you give up.
This is my message to you.
Sometimes we have to do things we don't want to survive.
I'm trying to save the one person left in my life that matters to me.
I can't help you. What you're talking about is illegal.
So we just watched the trailer for Songbird, produced by Michael Bay, about quarantine and a future version of coronavirus. What do you think of this trailer?
Okay. Movie looks good. Movie looks interesting. Looks like a good movie, but I don't want to watch it.
I know. I'm the same
because
way.
I am so burnt out on COVID.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also, it just... Do you feel like it's a little tasteless to have like a thriller movie?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, like...
I mean, he could have done anything else. You didn't have to go hard on the COVID, Michael Bay. It could have been something else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, the trailer, I mean,
it looks like a good thriller. It looks like an interesting movie, but...
I don't know. But something in it, like one of the producers is a producer of A Quiet Place, and that
I saw that.
Me, A Quiet Place Part 2 was supposed to come out this year.
Did not.
Is currently scheduled, I think, for March of next year.
I mean, I think that's pretty common. Most movies that were scheduled to be released this year were pushed back.
Right. But
the last movie I watched in the theater was Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the last movie I ever get to watch in the theaters, I'm going to be so mad.
The last one I watched in indoor theaters was The Way Back, which was nothing special.
I bet it was better than Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, Sonic the Hedgehog was actually pretty fun. This was just a kind of formulaic, like, not that interesting drama. But it is interesting, though, that I saw The Way Back on March 11th. And ever since then, I've been looking for The Way Back to the movie theater.
Mm-hmm. Poetic.
Yeah.
I saw Sonic the Hedgehog on Valentine's Day.
With your brunch bunch?
Yeah.
That I'm not allowed to be in.
That's
cool. Yeah.
We went out and we got
sushi.
Hot pot. Hot pot and sushi. Hot pot is it's a dish where basically your table has like stove burners in it, and they bring you like a pot of soup, and you add whatever they have, like basically a buffet
like accoutrement
of stuff, and you just fill up your plate, bring it back, and you cook it.
Oh, that's interesting.
In the soup, and they also had sushi there.
Nice. We have talked about that though. On
oh my god, hot pot! It was so good.
Nice.
It's so good.
What's it called again?
Hot pot, because the pot is hot.
Is it like a restaurant or
a hot pot is a style of food?
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it at
this was a restaurant that specialized in hot pot.
Okay. You know what I had for the first time?
Hot pot.
No.
Hot pocket.
A couple of days ago was the restaurant is called Wow. I assume that it's pronounced Bao. B-A-O.
Bao.
Bao. Like those. I had Bao. Like
what's Bao?
It's like that. Do you remember the Pixar short?
Oh yeah, like the little dumplings. Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't a huge fan. It's basically like a dumpling with like the flavors that they had. They had like two options, I think. But I had like Mongolian beef on one and chicken teriyaki in the other. Like it's fine. I think the problem was that like I had it delivered and it took a while, so I think it was a little bit. It wasn't like fresh, like it wasn't
and hot.
Hot, yeah. But it was solid. Yeah. So I don't know if and when I'll ever see Songbird. Or it's not that I'm not ready to see it. It's just I don't care to see it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm ready for movies to return to normal, and the world to return to normal.
Mm-hmm.
But on to better topics and everything.
So they could film that in quarantine because everyone is already wearing, like all those people were wearing hazmat suits,
and it's
or filming separately because like she's in her apartment the whole time. And
have you read up on like what kind of things have been going on with safety measures in place for filming in LA?
No.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like they do like daily COVID tests.
I know that like they were still filming Batman, and then Robert Pattinson got COVID.
Yeah,
it's like if they can't, they have a huge financial investment.
Batman,
to keep the star of their major franchise film in good health, and they. It was like a week after they went back to filming.
Right.
Then.
But why
are children still going to school?
Right. Oh, yeah. But they have like, I guess the production crews are separated into pods, like groups of people. So like they work together, but they're they're socially distant from other pods and everything.
Okay, you're still around the people in your pod. Exactly. And I'm assuming there is still someone like the director, the producers, who will still interact with everyone in those groups. Right. So I get that you're limiting your exposure, but you're still Robert exposed.
Pattinson, he was
Batman.
He was Batman.
I'm Batman.
He tested positive, and then
I'm Batman.
While he was quarantining and everything, doing all of that, yes.
Batman.
They
remember like we called Ben Affleck Batfleck.
Yes,
he's Batman.
Yes. They resumed filming with other positive things.
Because Pattinson.
I had a dream about that movie, the Batman. Like I had a dream.
The Pattinson.
Yeah, I'm excited for that movie.
The trailer looked great.
It looked so good.
It was very cool with the guy talking and
yeah.
That's
what happens in movie trailers.
A lot of times they talk.
But we're not going to see it until
not in A Quiet Place.
Right.
Not a lot of talking in that movie.
So I'm curious if A Quiet Place Part 2 is going to end up being released.
Okay. I didn't need a sequel.
I didn't either, but I'm
I thought it was a very great standalone movie.
Yeah. They actually just announced that they're going to have a third one that's going to be a
Loud Place.
No. But yeah. Oh, the new Pixar movie is going to be hitting Disney Plus. What
movie?
Soul.
Oh yeah, I heard about
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. That should be fun. So yeah. Okay, so yeah,
let's jump into it.
This November 15th, we are going to be reviewing Love and Monsters.
Yeah,
a feature film that is available to rent digitally on all platforms right now. It stars Dylan O'Brien and
Michael Rooker,
Ariana
Greenblatt, Jessica
Henwick, yes, from Iron Fist fame.
Ariana Greenblatt was Little Gamora.
Yeah.
And she's so cute. She was so fun.
She was great.
Yeah. Well, we've talked before about we have gushed over child actors like the Stranger Things or the It kids, you know?
Yeah.
And then we have bashed child actors like that chick from what's it? Wrinkle in Time.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Fucking horrible. Like she should not be in the industry anymore.
Shit, man.
I'm kidding. There were script problems.
Sign Matt's petition. And a child actor can make or break a movie, honestly, even if they're not in a very prominent role.
Right.
I mean, that's any actor who is very, very bad. It just stands out. But she was very fun. She was very funny. I loved her. Yeah.
But we'll talk about that when we get into the official review.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Dr. Sleep?
No.
There is
there's the girl and she has the vision.
Well, yeah, but there's also a scene with, oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? Jacob Tremblay, who he was in Room and
that boy, boy, the little boy,
yes, and he was amazing in Room, and it was interesting because in Dr. Sleep, he's in one scene. And it's that's interesting because he's been in Good Boys, and he was in an episode of The Twilight Zone and everything. He's becoming a big name child actor.
Okay,
and it's weird that you put him in one scene in Dr. Sleep, and it's the reason is because that scene demands so much out of the child actor, in terms of performance, both physically, vocally, and just the energy you need to have a strong actor on that. And he it is one of the standout scenes in that movie. He freaking nails it.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we're going to do that, and then we're also going to talk about LOSTPoint finally.
Yeah, we got some episodes saved up.
It's been a year and a half at this point, just about, since we've talked about LOSTPoint, our ongoing series where we are watching Lost and Flashpoint and talking about them on the podcast. So yeah, I'm very excited to resume that. So, any other new business or anything you want to mention before we go into the review?
New business?
New business, yeah.
Are you taking minutes for this meeting?
I am, yes.
I have no new.
Pizza has her little station set up where she's.
Oh, she's going to transcribe the notes.
She is, yes,
and send them out after the meeting is concluded.
Yes.
I have no new business.
Okay, and to review notes.
We're also going to talk about "I Wish You Would Leave."
Oh yeah, I think you should leave.
Yes. Matt, I wish you would leave.
Okay, I'll leave my own apartment. But yeah,
that would be very nice.
Before we get into our review, should we talk about I Think You Should Leave and then jump into the review? Let's do that. So, I Think You Should Leave. The last time you were on the podcast, Kyrsten, back in May, I told you that you should watch I Think You Should Leave. And you watched I Think You Should Leave. You watched one episode 2 nights ago. So, and it's November. So thank you for taking my suggestion.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So what did you think of the 2 now episodes that you've seen?
Oh, it's very funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good skit comedy show. It's not improv, it's scripted skits.
Yeah.
Kind of what that Tim and Eric awesome show.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that, but funny. I never found that show funny.
Yeah, like there is such a distinct difference. It's like with Tim and Eric.
Yes, because one is comedy and the other is stupid.
Yeah, or anti-comedy. Like it's like that's a particular type of humor that I can give or take. Like Tim Heidecker has this thing called On Cinema at the Cinema. It started as like a kind of fake podcast thing that he did with Neil Hamburger, I think.
Hamburger?
Yeah, it's
I wish my last name was Hamburger.
It can be. You can make that
no, I want to be Kyrsten Cheeseburger.
Okay.
And then people will be like, Miss Cheeseburger, and I'll be like, it's Cheeseburger.
That's good. But he plays I can't remember the name. Turkington. What's the first name? And anyway, it doesn't. Greg Turkington. And they do like this fake movie review show that
kind of like what we're doing now.
Well,
what if no one's listening?
Oh, people listen. But they
Robert from Utah.
But they do this kind of fake, very like it's hard to explain, but it's very like anti-comedy. It's like it doesn't rely on punchlines or anything. It's more like just cringy awkwardness.
Anti-comedy, I don't find funny because it's not funny.
Right. So you're pro-comedy.
Yes. If I'm watching comedy, I want to have some chuckles.
Yeah. I understand that. I gravitate to, especially like On Cinema, because the absurdity of it is like they're not going for like punchy like laughs.
Yeah, okay.
Like
and that is also how it feels with I Think You Should Leave.
Right. But it is very
but it's funny
as well. Yeah. Like what was of the 2 episodes that you've watched? And also to your point about it being similar to Tim and Eric, it has that Adult Swim kind of feel to it, especially with like the short episode. Like it's like between 15 to 20 minute episodes, so it has that.
They go quick
as well. What's your favorite sketch that you've seen so far?
My favorite one might be. I liked the gift receipt one.
Yes,
the one where Stephen Yeun is opening presents at his birthday party, and there was a commotion in the hallway. Right. And he's, it's great, thank you, and and then I put the receipt in there in case you want to return it and he's like, I won't have to because I love it. Right. And then opened up the dude's gift. It's a wreath. and he's like, I put the gift receipt in there in case you want to return it. He's like, oh, thanks. And he's like, but did you like it? And he's like, yeah, it's great. And he's like, then can I have the receipt back? Right. If you really like it, you'd give me back the receipt. And then he eats it, and then he's like, you must have doo-doo on your fingers.
from when you had a mud pie.
A mud pie. That's what it was.
And you had too small a slice.
And I ate your mud pie. It's so dramatic.
Great. Yes, and the escalation of it, like the timing of it, like the way that it escalates is just so great.
And then everyone, like, they're all like so seriously on board. Like, I will eat the receipt.
Yes. I have not shit or pissed.
I am sanitizing my hands.
So good.
Yeah. I think that one sticks out for me.
Yeah. I love the Baby of the Year one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's so ridiculous and funny. There are some other ones that are coming up in the show that you haven't seen yet that are just brilliant. Honestly, they're brilliant. And you haven't watched any of Aunty Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun.
No, you were like, we could watch that, and I was like, we could watch Middleditch and Schwartz.
Yeah,
which is always funny.
Which is great. Oh yeah,
I'll allow it.
But yeah, so yeah. Aunty Donna, I'm not sure if you would like it because it is more of that weird, like anti-comedy, offbeat kind of humor thing. But there is, it's too long to play it. But there's a there's a sketch that they do where it's basically it's a sketch comedy show, and it has it's absurd and everything, but they have this one sketch where they're singing a song about coffee, and it transforms into them bragging about having sex, and it's hilarious.
The thing about sketch comedy shows, I think this is why I didn't watch I Think You Should Leave for the longest time, is when you try to explain it, it is not funny. It does not sound funny at all.
Yes.
You know?
So check that out, though. You're
not really selling it for me
clip from
by describing it to me, because it just makes me not want to watch it.
Okay. And then there's another one where they're outside.
Stop.
Okay, I'll put a clip of Morning Brown.
No, stop.
Here.
Morning Brown. Zach, what do you need, Morning Brown?
I'm a sleepy boy, try as I might. I didn't get much sleep last night. I need to drink this Morning Brown, cause last night I was doing a fuck. I was fucking all night long. I was fucking with my ding dong. I fucked in a bed, I fucked in a seat. I fucked like a Labrador in a...
Okay,
and oh my god, hilarious. We're laughing. Comedy.
So the main feature of this
moving
episode,
on.
Yes. We're going to review Love and Monsters.
Love and Monsters.
Which, as I said, is available to rent across the board digitally. It is a movie directed by Michael Matthews, written by Brian Duffield and Matthew Robinson. One of the things I noticed in the credits was that one of the one or several of the producers, in particular Sean Levy is a producer. He is one of the producers of Stranger Things, which I thought was cool.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So Love and Monsters.
Maybe Dylan O'Brien will be in a future season
that would be
of Stranger Things.
Yeah. So I will go ahead and read the plot summary, courtesy of IMDb, and then we'll do a non-spoiler and then a spoiler review. Yep. So Love and Monsters plot summary is... In a monster-infested world, Joel learns his girlfriend is just 80 miles away. To make the dangerous journey, Joel discovers his inner hero to be with the girl of his dreams. This movie, of course, stars Dylan O'Brien, Jessica Henwick, and Michael Rooker, as we previously noted, and Ariana Greenblatt and Dan Ewing. So, Kyrsten, you had a vested interest in this movie because
I love Dylan O'Brien. First of all, he's a great actor.
The D-bag.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew. Yeah. I love him.
Yeah,
he's great.
He's a good actor.
He's so charming.
I've enjoyed him in the things that I've seen. One thing I was going to mention...
Very different role than his American Assassin role. Boy's got some range.
It's interesting because in terms of his acting, like it seems like a demanding role for him, because not only is he having to go long stretches where it's like just him, and in a world that is, I don't know how they did the visual effects, but yeah, you're acting. The monsters, I'm assuming, were some kind of CGI. Right. They might have mixed in some practical
some puppetry. Yeah. But bottom line, you don't have anything to play off of.
Right. Exactly. And I think he did a really good job.
Yeah.
Like he was very, like you said, he's very charming, and he has this relatability that is really, really satisfying to watch. But
he feels... Yeah, go ahead.
He, at no point when he's being chased by monsters does he...
You're going to say something dumb right about now.
Transform into Bumblebee and just go to...
Yeah, he did the voice of Bumblebee in the Bumblebee movie.
Yeah. Which was a pretty good movie.
I mean, he only had like 4 lines in that.
Yeah, that's true. He did, didn't he? Yeah. Anyway, so... Yeah, what did you think? What were your expectations going into it? And,
well, kind of, it's a story that's been told before. Monster apocalypse, world is ending, the last remains of humanity, or they're living in like bunkers and stuff. And he basically, the last tie he has to his life before. So the movie is set 7 years after the monster-pocalypse. And so he was a teenager when he went into hiding.
Right.
And he wants to reconnect with his high school girlfriend, Amy, with one eye and two E's.
Yes.
And he...
I, the letter, not... She has
one eye and two E's. Yes. So he tracks down her colony through... He's got like a shortwave ham radio, basically. And just basically is going through all the colonies until he finds hers. And then he's like, I'm going to make the trip. I'm going to go,
Without being asked.
Yes, she did not ask him to come, and he acknowledges that at the end, which I think was, he had some good growth, you know?
Oh yeah. We'll talk more about that in specifics.
But so kind of a classic story.
Yeah. It had kind of a young adult kind of bend to it and everything.
Yeah, like a coming of age kind of thing.
Yeah, and I appreciated that. And as someone who's not really that into like YA disaster movie or dystopian futures and stuff like that, like this is different from like the like Hunger Games stuff and like the similar stuff that were popular like 5 to 10 years ago. But it is like that kind of tried and true monster apocalypse kind of setting. The difference
between something like this and something like Hunger Games. Hunger Games is like, it feels very fantasy, you know,
exactly.
like that world feels very much removed from ours. Whereas this, you know, it felt very realistic. Like the people still were, I mean, it's like if you and I mean, were, you know, it could happen, you know, and it felt very grounded in this world, even though there were mutated monsters everywhere. You know, it just felt very believable.
Right.
Sleepy. We got a sleepy boy.
Sleepy.
I also really appreciated the short but sweet explanation at the very beginning of the movie. I don't think it's giving anything away because it's the very beginning. Really kind of a unique take on like a monster movie like this, like where it was
the actual exposition or like the design of the drawings.
Well, I was talking both.
Okay,
that was because Joel. Dylan O'Brien's character is an artist, and so they use that for some of the storytelling.
Old D-bag.
The old dildo, Dildo Brian. But it was a very unique take where this was a man-made disaster where basically a very real scenario where what was it, a meteor?
A meteor was heading to Earth,
and so they
Agatha 616.
So they basically launch a rocket at it to blow it into pieces.
They launch all the rockets.
He said all the rockets, and they successfully blow the meteor to pieces. But then the radioactive contaminated
chunks of it
fall back down to Earth, and that is what mutates all these monsters. Now, one problem I had with it, they did not establish why some animals mutated and some did not.
Yeah.
Like, okay, humans are animals.
Right.
You know, and none of the humans
Damn right we are.
were affected. And I don't think they ever really explained why. Now, they did mention it. They were like, thank God we people aren't, you know, affected. But why?
Yeah, that's something you had to suspend your disbelief.
I would have liked some kind of explanation about that. Okay. Also, there is a dog who is a main character in the movie, boy. Yeah. So apparently...
And he's a good boy.
Dogs are not affected.
Right.
Or is it just like, are there still some normal animals and only the ones that came in direct contact with this sort of radiation were changed? But the way that mutations work... It's not going to, like, okay, so there was like a frog monster.
Yeah.
Every frog that is affected isn't going to turn into the same big thing.
Yeah,
but they had names for like all, you know, so they're like, oh, that's a chumbor. We've seen chumbors. Chumbors, you know, you can tell chumbors because of this, but like, that's not how things mutate. And I'm getting too into the weeds with this, I think, but it just would have been nice to have some kind of explanation for why some animals were affected and some were not.
Yeah, and in my case, that didn't necessarily bother me, or I didn't have any cause.
Bobbered.
Yes, I didn't have any cause.
I was bobbered by it.
But I think mostly I was more engaged with the coming of age story and the growth of Joel as a character and the fear that something would happen to that dog.
Oh.
Yeah.
The whole time, I was just like, do not hurt that dog.
To not, like, that was enough to keep me engaged without questioning the logic in the movie. But it is pretty flawed logic or loose logic and everything. Mm-hmm. I will say, just as a quick aside, this plot where it's like a meteor's coming to Earth and they blow it up, and then
weren't we promised a meteor day before Election Day?
Yeah.
What happened to that? I never heard anything else about that. You son of a bitch.
Yeah, it came and
Turn
went,
around and come back.
Yeah. It came and went, just like the cure that was going to happen after the election.
No, we were supposed to get the cure before the election. That's what Trump promised.
There is a book called Seven Eves by Neil Stevenson, I think is his name. That is, the premise is that the moon, like something, like it's never explained, but something happens that causes the moon to just explode.
Huh.
And
Great. I love it. I'm on board.
Yeah. And the moon explodes, and it slowly, the remnants of the moon are hurtling toward Earth.
Which Zelda game is it where the moon is getting closer to you? You have to beat the game before the moon crashes into the
I've honestly never
Earth.
played a Zelda game.
It's fun. Yeah. But the moon had this scary face. It scared me as a kid. Oh, but the moon it gets closer and closer. You can look up into the sky and see the moon. It's like, coming at you, you know?
Okay.
That.
Well, this book is about the chunks of the moon causing, it's very, it's kind of hard sci-fi.
We got a chunky moon.
Yeah.
We do.
But the whole premise is that all of humanity pulls their resources to leave Earth.
Okay, we would not do that because people would not work together. Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. This is an infringement on my rights. I'm not getting on the spaceship. God, fucking leave him there. I don't care.
Oh, you're one of those weirdos who believes in the moon.
Yeah. Oh, God. Ugh. Anyway.
So where'd they go?
The book?
Yeah, they left Earth.
They left Earth, and then they created an arc, that's interconnected and everything. And a big chunk of the book is about...
I mean, how long did that take? Because
the timing worked out. It's explained away in it.
Okay. Because, the moon explodes.
Right.
I assume very soon after, destruction would follow.
Yeah, there's a tight time frame, but they get together and they do it. But
okay.
What's interesting is that a big chunk of the book is about the infighting of the people on the Ark and how that, somewhat spoilers, but partway through the book, there is a massive time jump, and it's hundreds of years in the future, and it's showing what the first group of humans that return to Earth, because that's when Earth is now habitable.
Okay, so they weren't going to find a new planet. They're we'll just chill up here in space for a while until it's safe to go back. That's kind of is that show The 100?
Yeah.
That's basically they destroy the planet, so everyone lives on a space station.
Yeah.
But they're we think Earth is safe now, so they send down 100 kids, I guess, but they're kids who were in kid prison.
Yeah,
I think I've never watched it, but my sister is into that show. So they send down those people, but it turns out there were people who were left behind on Earth, and they're
it's
chilling,
very much like Seven Eves. Wow, but the cool thing about Seven Eves is that it shows, at least in the last portion of the book, that time jump shows how the events that happened that we were reading for the majority of the book have just created this kind of like the idea of founding fathers and everything. They founded a new society based on the events.
Hundreds of years have passed. Yeah. They're not Earthlings anymore.
Right. So it's cool. But anyway, Love and Monsters. So something that I wasn't I wasn't anticipating was how well done the monster effects were.
They looked great.
Yeah, and I think
they looked realistic. Mm-hmm. And you could still tell what each animal was. There was the boulder snail, and it had the shell on its back, and the frog monster. You could tell what that was. Stuff like that. They looked like believable.
Yes. And the crab thing.
The crab guy was cool.
Yeah,
I like that guy.
But what I was surprised at how good the effects work was and how prominent it was, because in the beginning of the movie there is a lot of mystery surrounding. There's the breach in the
in their bunker, yeah. But you don't get a good look at the monster.
You see a silhouette of it in a small
And then like its little like its like arm reaches out, you know, and that's all you see.
Right. So the movie kind of primed us for this more low budget.
Yeah. Hide the fact that, you know, the effects aren't great by not really showing. Kind of like in Jaws, you know, the shark, not that impressive. So Steven Spielberg cleverly filmed, you know, but that added to the suspense.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so the story is really solid. The bond that he strikes with Boy, the dog, is just wonderful.
So good. Genuine.
Yep. What did you say?
Genuine.
Oh, genuine.
It felt genuine.
I thought you said John Ewan. I was like, what?
That's the dog's name.
Yeah. There's this, like, when he first meets the dog, it's
heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, but it's hilarious because the dog has its own, like, and it could have been just super over the top and everything. Like, he's on a bus, and, like, obviously, like, his owner is not there anymore. But
yeah, he had been living there with his owner.
Yeah, but he's trained to know how to open and close the door, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the journey is tumultuous and hard.
Very satisfying, though.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And Michael Rooker and Ariana
Greenblatt. They were good.
Yeah, they were good.
How did you feel Clyde about and Minnow.
Yes.
It's good. They didn't have, like, an overly touching relationship, you know?
Right.
They really felt like... And Ariana Greenblatt, she's, like, 8. So she's a child. It really felt like more of a partnership, which I really enjoyed. It you know, it did not necessarily feel like he was a surrogate father for her.
Right, they're a team.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
I really like that.
And maybe this is giving maybe too much credit to the movie, but I feel like that is an interesting mirror to Joel and, not to go into spoilers, but the growth of Joel and Amy as they're like bonding and everything, because like they've grown into different people.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk more about that in spoilers and everything. But it's interesting that, like, it's not with Michael Rooker and Ariana Greenblatt. It's not this, like you said, it's not the surrogate father-daughter relationship.
Which they very easily could have done. And I feel like it would have cheapened their relationship. I really liked it the way it was.
Right. And I expected, I'll save that for spoilers. I expected something to happen with that. But it was satisfying. It was cool as this, like, I mean, it's kind of, the writing is a little rudimentary, I would say. Like, it's like, okay, well, here, like, we're just going to show you the lay of the land and teach you how to do this. It has kind of a Zombieland feel in that regard.
I agree, yeah.
But it's also like, okay, here's this thing that is obviously going to come in handy later, and you're going to learn all of these things that are going to come in handy. But I did appreciate just the kind of genuine feel. Like, it's not like this dramatic thing. There's no, like, big dramatic arc between like Joel and Michael Rooker's character. There's not like some conflict there. The movie is about his journey from his bunker to Amy's, and that's where it is. We don't need like the superfluous, like, oh, I'm going to argue with you about how to go about this and everything. So I appreciated that. Yeah. Anything else, or do you want to go into spoilers?
Let's go to spoilies.
All right, so I'm going to play a clip from the trailer. We're going to go into spoilers for Love and Monsters. If you want to skip the spoilers and go to our LOSTPoint revival, check the show notes. Yes, check the show notes on the podcast or at obsessiveviewer.com/OV330, I believe. And, check the show notes for the timestamps. And here's a clip from Love and Monsters trailer.
Enjoy.
How far away is Amy's colony?
85 miles. It's an impossible journey. Everything will try to kill you. Don't fight. Just run and hide.
Okay.
You really got me going. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing.
You all alone? Me too. You don't have to talk about it. You want to come with me?
Look out!
Is that a samurai sword?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Listen to your instincts out here, man.
What if I have terrible instincts?
you'll die.
Super encouraging speech.
All right, so spoilers on for Love and Monsters.
All right.
Yes. So Mavis, let's talk about that.
Okay. It felt very out of place for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the only sort of, yeah. Okay. So the Mavis is basically this, it's kind of like Alexa, you know. Yep. Oh, no. Never mind, Alexa. Okay, shut up. Thank you. Yes. So it's kind of like those systems, but they have an actual physical body. So it's like a robot assistant helper person.
Yeah.
And Joel encounters a Mavis that is still functioning,
right? Because in the bunker,
on the surface, yeah, they've got
one. Yeah, the kind of premise at the start is that he is the only single person in his colony.
That's why he's like, I gotta leave to go find Amy because I need to get laid.
Yeah.
You know,
and he believes that Amy is his soulmate.
Yeah,
that he hasn't seen in 7 years. But there is a Mavis that is shut down in the bunker. So anyway, so he runs into one that,
and they're supposed to be they're supposed to be like before all this happened, they were the latest technology and they were about to change, revolutionize the world, which is the direction we are heading in.
Yes.
But it just felt I couldn't place like what year this was supposed to be, because that's obviously beyond the technology that we have,
right?
Yeah,
and there's nothing in the flashbacks to indicate that it's the future.
There were interspersed in the movie. There were flashback scenes so that we could explore Joel's family and like how he
almost
and his relationship with Amy.
Or relationship with Amy, I should say.
And there were no Mavises.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to like see a Mavis helping pack, when all the families were evacuating the neighborhood or something. And it felt a little bit shoehorned in, like, oh, let's throw in these robots for no reason.
I agree.
Now, I liked it, but I would have liked a little bit more substance.
Right. Well, they do pay a little bit of lip service to it by having Joel say, like, oh, hey, I've never seen a working one. You guys were going to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
So, like, they do that, but using that plot device and that set or that prop as a vessel for just this incredibly like well done emotional
moment. I did appreciate that.
Frankly, I wasn't expecting it to get that deep and like good. Like I not to slight the movie, I just kind of at that point I was like, okay, I know what this movie is. I know the type of movie this is. It's good for what.
And then
it
was
is.
like, oh, feels
like gut punch.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, and also if we could pick it apart, like, okay, how does Mavis have access to the internet 7 years after the world ended? Like, that's something. But the thing is,
the cloud, man.
Yeah, I guess so. But the sky jellies probably have Wi-Fi.
Those were beautiful.
Were very pretty. But the kind of the setup or the situation that happens is that he is talking to Mavis after she offers to give him access to her power, or I think
so he can power his radio.
Yeah, he can reach out to Amy. So they're outside. She has 15 minutes of power.
And that was very beautiful. So her legs have been eaten.
Yes, by something she does not know.
Yeah, so she was at some point she was attacked by one of the monsters,
right.
and she has she uses the majority of her remaining battery life to power his radio, and then she says it's been such a long time since I've seen the outside, so he carries her outside so she can see like the night sky for the last time, and they see those sky jellies. It was a very beautiful scene.
Yeah, like floating jellyfish mutations in the sky. The emotional like gut punch is when she tells him like, oh, I can do a trick for you, and asks his name and where he's from, and
pulls up his family. And he sees pictures of his parents who died in the monster-pocalypse for the first time in 7 years.
In a gruesome manner. Like,
they showed it.
Yeah. Also, like, I was gonna make a I think you should leave joke, like, and she brings up his family photo, and his face is all red for his family photo. Yeah. So anyway,
is that the joke?
Is that the joke? that my face is all red from my family photos?
That's not the joke. That's not a joke.
So now I'm in the hospital and they're trying to shove meatballs up my scrotum and put cake batter back in my penis?
Anyway,
so
yeah, it was very emotional, him seeing...
Yes.
And
not only the pictures, but having the picture of his mom.
Displayed on... She has basically, like, her face is a screen.
Yeah.
And so she can show, like... She can have, like... basically looks like an emoticon face,
right?
Or she can display pictures, and
like
so it looked like his mom's face was on her, and he hugged her, and
she hugged him back,
and that was when her battery ran out. Like it was very beautiful.
It was very beautiful, and then he buried her. That was such a surprisingly touching moment.
Yeah,
like I was very moved by that. Also, it helps that we had consumed a bunch of wine.
Yeah,
so. Yeah, it was very touching. And then the other thing I was going to say, to circle back to Ariana Goldblatt and Greenblatt and Michael Rooker, is I was expecting, because I hadn't seen the trailer before this.
Yeah, you mentioned that before we watched it. You didn't know anything going in.
Yeah, so I had this thought that I was expecting it to take a turn where... And I'm glad that it didn't do this, because this would have been pretty cliche and everything. But I was expecting Michael Rooker to get killed off, and then the movie would be about the bond that grows between Joel and Ariana Greenblatt's character. Which I'm glad they didn't do.
Yeah.
It's just like...
I love how they show at the end that they made it to the mountains. Like, that's where Clyde and Minnow are... That's why they're on the surface and they run into Joel, because they're traveling to the mountains. They believe that the elevation and the cold weather will mean that there's no monsters there.
Right.
And that's sound reasoning, to be honest.
That logic tracks. Yeah.
So then they make it to
Not
the mountains.
Like the logic of only certain animals being mutated.
So I do like that they made it.
Yeah.
So, okay. How do we feel about Joel and Amy's reunion?
Yes. So it does like a fake out on us, because he has been poisoned. He's also yelled at Boy, which we're in spoilers. I'm so glad that Boy survived.
Yes. So yeah, if you want to watch this movie and you needed to know if the dog dies, the dog lives.
The dog lives.
So you can sleep soundly tonight.
Like that scene where he's cradling Boy and covering his snout or his mouth.
Yeah, he's holding his muzzle closed.
And then he when the threat passes, he like hugs him and like kisses him. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah,
dogs are amazing.
I'm so glad he had. First of all, Boy saved his life.
Yeah,
but I'm so glad he had like a partner.
Yeah.
Through his journey.
Oh yeah. But when they get to the colony that Amy is at. So Amy is about the colony. Amy has been, keeping the colony afloat.
Oh, you were going to talk about the fake out.
Oh, yeah.
So he kisses Amy, then he wakes up and he's
because he had the
recovering from the poison.
He was poisoned.
And realizes it wasn't actually Amy that he kissed, it was old Pete.
Old Pete. But that was something interesting, because I was throughout the movie, I'm like,
that was too fairy tale.
Yeah, yes. I was going to be disappointed. Because I was anticipating, and I'm glad that it went this route, that okay,
they're gonna end up together.
I was
happily ever after.
Yeah, he just went out on this on his own, and it's been 7 years.
And think about, he said he was 16 when it happened. Think about who you were.
Yes,
Robert, when you were 16, and maybe
more listeners, I promise.
Maybe who you were. I'm addressing Robert right now.
Okay.
Everyone else can kind of tune out on this part. And who you who you were with when you were 16. Think about, and then seven years go by, and such a crazy traumatic thing has happened. The entire world, is different. Would you risk your life to go see that person? No.
I will say this.
Now I'll say this. Okay, he probably was very emotionally stunted because he was 16 when it happened. He lost his family. So she is the only thing from his old life that he still has.
Yes, in that kind of hormonal and emotional state, like that. I mean, it doesn't really explain how long they were together before the.
It was a summer.
It was
they said this was the best summer of my life.
Yes. So like that.
So it was like young puppy love kind of thing, you know.
And like it's.
But Daddy, I love him. You know, like
yes. Like totally love him, but it speaks to his character development throughout the movie that like he does have this connection that he's holding on to from his previous life that like obviously it's when he was 16 and like that's when all of his emotions are heightened to such an extreme and like it makes
and it really kind of felt like he had put her on a pedestal. He was idolizing her, you know. Okay, so Amy, when he gets to her colony,
also it's Jessica Henwick, so I get that. She
was very funny. I liked her.
Yes. She's great.
So he gets to her colony and she basically is, I'm not going to say the leader of her colony, but she is she's the person who takes care of everything.
Yeah, she's in
the
charge.
rest of her colony they're older people.
Yes.
So
old Pete.
So, but they're all older.
Yeah.
So she's the only young person in her colony. So she's responsible for taking care of them.
Right.
You know, and it's this kind of heartbreaking moment where he's like, I came all this way, you know, because she doesn't have time for him.
Right.
When he shows up, you know, there's shit going on.
Yeah.
She's like, I got stuff to handle. And he's like, hey, I just came all this way. Can we like talk? And she's like, and she's honest with him. She's like, I never thought you would actually come.
Right.
You know, and I am a different person.
Right.
You know, and she like straight up tells him she cannot devote anything to him.
Yeah. Yep.
And guess what he does? He doesn't get angry. He doesn't punch a wall. He says, oh man, you never asked me to come. I should have asked. And then, and guess what? He fucking leaves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He understands that.
I love that they didn't end up together. Mm-hmm. I love that. So he finds out his colony is in jeopardy. Mm-hmm. They're in danger.
We're skipping over a little.
Well, we'll go back to that. Okay. But in the beginning they had a monster breach, and now it's like, you know, they're in danger. They could have multiple breaches. So he's like, I got to go back. Mm-hmm. And he has this realization that these people have been his family for 7 years. They saved his life.
Yeah.
They took care of him.
They were there when his parents died.
Yeah. And they need him, and he needs them more than he needs Amy.
Yeah.
Amy doesn't need him at all. You know, so the place he needs to be is back at his colony. So that's how the movie ends. Is he and Boy are going to travel back to his colony.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm skipping over the thing with the villain.
Right.
We're gonna circle back to Cap.
Yeah. Are we gonna circle back now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to say I loved the ending,
and I agree
because
with that.
I did not need a big romantic, you know, and then like he and Amy are, you know, leading their colony. I love that he went back.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's the maturity that he shows when he realizes that like, oh shit.
That's his development. Yeah. I was in the right place all along.
Yes.
You know, he doesn't need you know, a girlfriend.
Right. Yeah.
He needs his family, and that's who they were.
Right. Yeah, it was really good, strong character development and everything.
So Cap. Yes. So when
thing about this villain thing, like I was thinking about it after we watched it, like it feels a little bit hurried and not forced, but it's like it's very quick. It's just
there was a little bit of setup when he was able to contact Amy through Mavis. She did say at that point,
she mentions it.
That there's a guy on a yacht showed up, and so when Joel shows up, they are packing up to leave Amy's colony.
Yeah,
because this guy, the captain, they call him Cap. He has a yacht, and his colony is like a yacht colony.
Right.
And so they're like, we'll be safer on the water. We want to take your colony with us. And Amy is like, yes, good plan. Right. We're not safe here. We'll be safe, you know, out on this yacht colony. So they're
also, I feel like that.
But here's the thing. Like obviously there's big giant crabs. Right. So what else is in the ocean?
Like I don't buy that premise that they would think that they would be safe in open water.
Yeah. I mean, they've been safe for 7 years. As far as we know, they haven't had any colony breaches.
Yeah.
She never mentioned that they felt like they were in any sort of danger, but suddenly she's like, oh.
But if they were on a yacht in the middle of the ocean,
yeah, that's somehow safer. Then you have nowhere to run.
They'd have to be like that surfer that there's the contest named after.
The Eddie I. Cow.
Eddie I. Cow, yeah.
Yeah. So that's, and then it felt very cliche that Cap was going to be a bad guy. So it turns out they're food stealers, which it's funny because everyone that Joel comes in contact with, they're like, what are you doing on the surface? Were you caught stealing food? He's like, no, why does everyone assume I was stealing food? And then he's like, oh, they're food stealers.
Yeah. That was good. I liked that.
That was a good callback, yeah. Which makes sense. If you had someone who was stealing food, you would kick them out of your colony.
Oh, yeah. And again, kind of the writing for me wasn't as strong in terms of the setup of things. It's like, okay, clearly, like, it's a little too clear, like, what's set up is going to pay off later. Like, the plants that Michael Rooker pointed out that was like, oh, hey, you know, that's good for poison and everything. And he gets poisoned and everything. It's like, oh, here's a grenade. Count to 5. Oh, there's a grenade. He's going to throw it and kill them. Like all of that.
Well, I did like the payoff with, so he's, Cap's big monster is he's got a crab that he is controlling with like some kind of
like
electroshock system. Yeah. So he's got like a thing, like a battery basically on his belt. When he pushes a button, it shocks the crab and then it will attack. Right. But one thing that Minnow had said to Joel, because they teach him that some of the monsters are not bad, like they're not all predators.
You can tell by the eyes.
Yeah, and that's what she says. Because they run into a boulder snail and it's harmless.
Right.
And she said, yeah, you can tell by their eyes. And so he looks into the crab's eyes and sees that it's in pain and it's not. It doesn't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
And so he shoots like
the chain.
Yes.
That's connected to the thing. Yeah.
So basically, that's how he doesn't like blow up the crab. He saves it, and
that was a good
in effect
payoff.
saves the colony.
Yeah.
And then it goes and like eats the Cap.
Everyone on the yacht.
Yeah.
That was a
good for her.
Yeah, that was a good payoff, and the payoff of the berries to signal.
Yes, because I had completely forgotten about that.
Oh yeah.
So he's keeping. So we mentioned Joel is an artist. Amy and Joel, in the beginning, not in the beginning of the movie, but the beginning of their relationship, he draws this picture of her. It's very bad.
It's very bad.
It's very bad. She's like, small. I love it. And he's like, that's really sweet because it's terrible. But she gives him a gift, and that gift is some nice colored pencils that he's been wanting. And they show
journal.
Yes.
Sketchbook.
And they show like 7 years later that they're like whittled down to nubs because he's used them, but he's developed his skills, and basically he's keeping basically a bestiary. So he just has like this anthology of all of the monsters his colony has encountered, you know, and he's keeping like what are their weaknesses, what are their strengths. And one thing he records is he wanted to eat these berries that he found, and boy, the dog was like, bark, bark, no. You know how dogs are.
Yeah. Bark, bark, no.
And so, and then later,
meow, meow, yes.
When he is at Amy's colony, they bring him some food, and it's those berries, and he recognizes them, and he's like, oh, and he flips back through his book, and he's like, these are poison berries, and he realizes that Cap is poisoning everyone.
Yeah.
And good good callback,
Yeah, and the added, like, emotional part of that is, I love that it was Boy that taught him that the berries were bad, and, like, this is at a point after he and Boy have, like, parted ways and everything, after he yelled at him to go away and everything. And
then Boy comes back!
He does! And, like, I was expecting
it was great.
Obviously.
It was, yeah. And Boy leaves with him, too, when he's going to make the journey back.
Oh, yeah. It was good. It was a nice kind of.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was entertained.
Yeah.
It was funny. There were like, I felt like Tom Cruise. You know, like little lines that made me chuckle.
It doesn't take itself necessarily that seriously.
Exactly.
It also doesn't.
He's like, oh, you got to trust your instincts. They'll keep you alive out here. Yeah. What if I have terrible instincts?
Right.
Then you'll die.
Yeah, like it's not like is a word like self-effacing. It's not like self-deprecating, or it's not. I mean that in that.
It's not like a parody of monster movies.
Yeah, it's not trying.
But the thing about Joel is he felt like a real guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
who is just kind of getting by
Yeah.
the skin of his teeth, you know.
And his just
The
growth
is that
feels
this
very
by the skin of your teeth? Is that
by the skin of the teeth? Yeah.
is that you don't have skin on your teeth?
I don't know. Should be like by the enamel of your teeth.
By the skin of your body.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird.
butt.
That is a weird euphemism.
It is. It is.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. You know what? I'm going to add it to my
I was just gonna
list. Let's see.
And what are you up to now? Like, what is
That's
your...
like 3, I think.
Okay.
Hold on. Ba-doop-boop-boo. Okay, so I saw Birds of Prey and Sonic the Hedgehog in February.
Right.
I watched The Lovebirds in May.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put this at the top.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Now, here's the thing. There's not a lot of competition because I've only seen 4 new movies this year.
That's true. Are you sure you haven't seen more?
I don't think so.
Any documentaries?
Nothing that's new.
Okay. Interesting. Honestly, I don't know that it will be in my top 10.
Yeah, and that's fair. It probably wouldn't be in mine either because it was fun, but it's it wasn't anything that was phenomenal.
Right.
But I have only seen 4 new movies,
right.
so
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's definitely better than Sonic the Hedgehog.
Mm-hmm. Let me see what my top would be. Oh yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of good stuff this year. Yeah. So unfortunately, it won't make that. But I will just say, just throwing this out there. I'm thinking of ending things was great. Totally under control. I'm gonna take that again. I'm thinking of ending things.
Matt burped, you guys.
Hey!
Matt burped.
The magic of editing needs to make that non-existent. So,
Matt burped.
Some movies that are in contention for my top 10 of this year are I'm Thinking of Ending Things, Totally Under Control. By the way, I'm Thinking of Ending Things is available on Netflix. Totally Under Control is available on Hulu, a documentary about the pandemic response and everything. Birds of Prey, The Vast of Night.
Birds of Prey is in...
It's in contention.
Competition for your top movie?
For top 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Top 10 plus,
I thought this was like...
No.
Okay.
No. In contention for my top 10 plus on.
You thought Birds of Prey was better than Love and Monsters?
I don't know. I'll need to see Birds of Prey again.
I thought it was good, but again, it was nothing phenomenal.
I'd say they're about even.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know. All right. So, that's our review of Love and Monsters.
Yeah.
Let us know what you thought of the feature film that is available to rent on all digital.
It was fun. It was a good watch.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, so we are going to wind down
LOSTPoint
with the triumphant return.
You're welcome.
Of our LOSTPoint review series. Mm-hmm. So the concept is that Kyrsten and I both are. I'm a huge fan of the show Lost. Kyrsten is a huge fan of the Canadian crime show Flashpoint. And so we are basically trading off watching episodes of each show, and then we are documenting our journey through these shows in a segment we call LOSTPoint. So we have not had this segment on the show for over a year, and in that year we have watched 4 episodes of each show plus 1 episode of each show today. So since it's been so long, we're just going to kind of...
like a high-level overview.
Yeah, of those 4 episodes, and then go into more of a deeper dive on the 2 episodes we watched today. So, Kyrsten, do you want to talk about Flashpoint first?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So, the episodes that we watched... first, the overview one... We watched season 2, episodes 3, 4, 5, and 3, 4, and 5. So we only watched 3 episodes of that. Okay. Haunting the Barn.
Oh,
yes.
Great episode.
Between Heartbeats.
Yeah, great episode.
Yes, and Business as Usual. Yeah. So How did we do this?
What do you mean?
We do
a review. What are you talking about?
Like we talk about like what the plot summary is for each one.
So Haunting the Barn.
Yes.
Great episode about a former cop who has PTSD, and he's got this case that all these cases that he cannot get out of his head, and he returns to the SRU where he formerly worked, and his plan is to commit suicide.
Right.
And so the other officers have to try to get through to him. Danny Rangford. It was beautiful. It's just an emotionally wrenching episode.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
The acting was phenomenal.
Yeah. And the kind of, I would say the allure of it from my memory of when we watched it like a decade ago.
Yeah. Back when I was 32.
Yes.
Because I'm 42 now.
Oh, yes.
You made that
right.
joke.
Yes. So that's right. So the allure of that is it did this thing that some shows, like procedural shows, tend to do, is that it has like the action of the show take place in in-house, like in the place where they go when they're not, like, you know, it's their home base.
Their headquarters, basically.
Headquarters, yeah. So that gave an interesting, like,
a good change of scenery.
Yeah, a good change of scenery, a different context for sets that we are somewhat familiar with and everything. So that was pretty refreshing and cool. But yeah, the acting of that guest star was really good.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like the episode of Lost that we watched today, both Haunting the Barn and the episode of Lost we're going to talk about soon had very good like sweat makeup effect.
We had some sweaty guys.
Yes.
We had some sweaty boys.
Oh yes.
All right, let's move on to the next episode.
Okay, yes, rapid fire. So,
Between Heartbeats. Oh my god.
Between Heartbeats. This is the sniper one. Yeah.
So
Amy Jo Johnson.
It calls back to the first episode. Their very first hot call.
Yeah.
Not their first, but the first one in episode 1.
In the kind of plaza thing.
Yeah. His son basically wants to take revenge.
That's right.
On the SRU. You son of a bitch! You didn't remember anything.
I didn't.
He wants to take revenge on Ed Lane, who is one of the characters at the SRU, because the
angry gnome.
He killed his father.
Yes.
He took the shot. You know, it was a hostage situation. The guy's, you know, he had already killed a person. Right. And this guy is a trained sniper, conveniently. Yeah. And he's like, all right, I'm going to start shooting people. And so he does. And he shoots Jules, Amy Jo Johnson.
Amy Jo Johnson, yeah.
Which they did to write her out of half a season because she had a baby.
Right.
But it was, oh, God. Oh.
It was good. It was good. Something I really like about these types of shows, and this one in particular, because it's kind of the kind of the whole idea of the show, is the way that it portrays. And I mean, granted, it's like in an actiony, entertainment way, but the way that it portrays that tactical kind of like setup and everything, and how they have to like the process of handling each call and everything, and like having it be like they're depicted at the SRU as like an elite group of you know, people. So it's really cool to see that in the show, where it's just like them working together and everything, which helps to really further develop the bonds between them. And everything. So that's what I.
What did you think of the episode?
It was solid. It was good. Yeah. I don't remember much of it, so yeah.
The scene where it's Sam and Jules, and they're pinned down under gunfire on a building here, and they are secretly dating. So Sam has, you know, an emotional investment, and Jules has been shot. He's got his shield up, but he's still taking fire. He can't do anything to help her.
Right.
So he has to wait for backup to arrive. And help carry. They basically barricade her with shields, and they carry her out like that. But it's a very tense scene where he's got his shield up, he's taking fire, and he's got a hand on her wound. You know, yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, next episode.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay, next episode.
That was business as usual.
That was between heartbeats. This third episode is business as usual.
Yeah, pretty good episode.
Yeah, I don't remember much of it at all.
Okay, this is the one with it was like 3 guys and they had all lost their homes, because there was like this mortgage deal thing, and this guy, he's like a scam guy, and he's rich and he scammed them, and so they lost their homes, so they go to like this news station. And they're like, we just want to talk to Joel Gray or whatever his name is. It's something like that. And they're like, we just want, we want him to come on here and
Joel Graves
and say like, why did you do this? And he basically, they invested, he stole their money, something like that. He's like a slimy guy. And then one of the guys really turns things on their head because he, douses himself in gasoline, and he's I'm gonna set myself on fire, and the other 2 guys are like, whoa,
hold up,
we just wanted to get the guy out here. He's like, well, I'm gonna set myself on fire because it turns out his wife committed suicide.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. Because he didn't know they were so in debt because his wife handled the finances. And she the description of it, she got all dressed up in like her finest clothes, and she went and she killed herself in the car. She like,
fuck, that's right. Was it carbon monoxide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she couldn't face him, and so then he finds out, okay, my wife is dead, and also we've lost the house, we have no money. So he's like, what do I have to live for?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was intense. Yeah, that was good. So shall we go on to the big episode, or not big episode, but
the big episode,
that is
the
fresh
Fortress.
Yes, the Fortress. So the plot summary for the Fortress, and we're going to do a more thorough review of this. A simple robbery turns into a hostage situation, and Parker struggles to gain the trust of the nanny, who may be more involved than is originally thought.
All right.
Yes. So the Fortress. I enjoyed this episode. It was nice to get back to this show. So part of my enjoyment of this episode is just like rekindling my enjoyment of the show so far. And
we got a new face, Donna, who is Jules's replacement.
Yes. She was in the previous episode.
Yes, but this was the first episode where she's on the team.
Right. And she did good.
I like Donna. She's like hard as nails. She's just like cool.
Oh yeah. So this episode, it's interesting. Like the show seems to be, at least seems to have like this, not axe to grind, but it has this pattern, I guess, of depicting like the wealth disparity and everything. Like it's not so much here, but like obviously like the mark of the robbery is a very well-to-do, well-off household.
So this woman is a nanny for this rich family
who had a dream when she was a child
where she wore a beautiful coat just like this.
Beautiful coat.
So she really cares about these kids.
Yeah. Enough to presumably lie to their fucking face.
And she has this boyfriend who's like a no good guy.
Misha.
And so he's like, we're going to rob these people.
Yes.
And she's like,
we're gonna rob these people
as long as nobody gets hurt, And so they plan it for a day where the family will be out, but then the family comes back early, and so the robbery turns into a hostage situation. And what is her name?
Irina.
She is the liaison between the hostage takers and the police, and they're like slowly unraveling that she may be involved, and
Yeah. There was something that I didn't necessarily pay enough attention to was the plot about her son. Like her son was still in Russia with her parents, and the kind of like the reason that she was roped into this.
She needed the money so she could bring her son to Canada.
Okay.
And that is why she agreed to go along with it.
Yes. Mathers Crescent.
Oh, that's where they lived.
Yes. Fancy. Yes.
It's fancy.
The title, The Fortress, is
because the home was a fortress.
Yeah, state of the art.
It was a mansion.
System. Yeah. It was good. I enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, good action.
Good action. That
gruesome scene where that dude was killed and then dropped out of the window. Oof. God.
Pushed the envelope of what the show has been so far. In an interesting way. And there's the framing story of Parker having that relationship and saying that he doesn't. I've lost track of how that ended up at the end.
So they've been like leaking information over the past couple of episodes that he has a son that he hasn't seen in like 10 years. 9 years, I think they said. And he lives with his mother in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And in like the last episode or the one before that or something, he bought a plane ticket to go visit him. And then that was the last we heard.
Okay.
So we didn't know if they reconnected or anything. Then we find out in this episode that Dean, his son, he wouldn't even come to the door. He wouldn't even talk to him. So he does not have a relationship with his son, but he is trying to establish one.
Okay, so what's the whole Sylvia thing?
Sylvia is a woman he went on a date with.
Okay.
And she has a son. And the reason he likes Sylvia, but he doesn't want to go out with her because he feels guilty being the father figure of another child when he has a kid that he cannot have a relationship with.
And then he calls her at the end because he's like, "Hey baby, I just..."
Yeah, they left that up in the air, so we don't know if he was calling Sylvia, if he was maybe trying to call Dean, his son, again. You know
who he certainly wasn't trying to call was Dennis.
Ghostbusters! Dennis, rest in peace.
More like deadness. Yes. But yeah, solid episode.
Yeah.
Again, the kind of wealth disparity thing is a kind of running thing. And I'm curious if that is going to be explored more, which I'm sure that you would know.
I don't know.
But if it's explored more, I'm wondering how... I'm hoping that if it is explored more, that it's done in such a like continues to be done in a variety of ways. That way I don't get kind of bored with it. But yeah. So I was just gonna say like, oh yeah, and this obviously like this was made in like 2009, like when like the housing crisis and everything. But I'm like, that was here. Was that also in Canada?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So anyway,
all right. So on to Lost.
Lost, yes. So
refresh my memory.
Yes. So we were going to again rapid fire the episodes of Lost that we watched in the interim.
Pew 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 pew. Rapid fire. Pew 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 pew.
So season 1 episodes, episodes 12, 13, 14, and 15. No. 12, 13, and 14.
Yeah, it would have been 3. It would have been 3 episodes.
Shit. No, I think it was... Yes.
Would have been 3 episodes.
12, 13, and 14. So 12 was whatever the case may be. Plot summary: Kate and Sawyer discover a briefcase and the race begins to win ownership of it. Charlie,
and that was before we knew, the audience, what was in the briefcase.
Exactly.
And Kate knew what was in the briefcase.
But what
Sawyer didn't know, but he knew. Kate wanted it so badly that he knew he wanted it.
Yeah. Also, Charlie is still depressed over Claire and is given a sharp talking to by Rose. Yeah. So anyway, this episode was about them fighting over the briefcase, trying to find a way to
maybe
break into
a little fillery.
It was very fillery. Yeah. Like it sets up the guns. And everything.
I mean, which obviously pays off in the episode we watched today.
Right.
It wasn't a bad episode.
Yeah. I mean, it comes off the.
I guess I didn't realize that Claire was gone for that long. That's
Well, this is coming off
several episodes then that she wouldn't have been in.
Right. It was off the heels of her disappearance or her abduction and everything. So, like, I feel like there's probably a calculation in that where it's they had a big episode, so take a beat and develop some of the characters a little bit more and have kind of a fluffy episode to an extent, while still setting up things that will come later. So I appreciate this episode. How did you feel about it in your memories?
I remember it fondly.
Nice.
So they end up the briefcase ends up going to Jack.
Jack ends up so. If I remember correctly,
now I remember a scene where Kate gets it, and then she opens it.
Yes.
And then we see that it's guns.
Basically what happens is that Sawyer is trying to break into it like by force, but he can't because it's very like
it's
strong.
the Marshall's suitcase.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Kate goes to Jack and says, "Hey, we need to open this. Sawyer can't know about him. I know where the key is. It's on the Marshall's body." So they dig up the Marshall, get the key, open it, and it's the guns. But
and then they hide the briefcase.
They hide the briefcase.
Yeah.
But the thing was that she really wanted this little toy airplane.
That's right. Yeah, that's what
safe deposit box.
That's what she wanted. Yeah.
And like there was that big scene where Jack was like, What is it so important? Why won't you tell me or whatever?" And then she's like, It belonged to someone I loved. It belonged to someone I killed. So yeah. Dun, dun,
and we don't have the background story on that yet.
We will later. So yeah. But yeah, so that was whatever the case may be.
Next.
And next episode.
Next.
Episode 13, Hearts and Minds. When Locke learns that Boone wants to share their secret with Shannon, Locke plans to teach him a lesson. This was another fluffy kind of...
Fluffy, you
Not
say?
fluffy,
Wasn't
but,
this the episode where we found out that Boone and his stepsister Shannon were sleeping together?
Yes, had sex one time.
Gross.
Because in
Gross. You know what? One time's enough.
Yes. What happens is that she does this thing throughout their like life and everything where she presents herself as a damsel. Like she
playing the victim card.
Yeah, plays the victim card, constructs this like scenario where she needs rescued from Boone, and Boone goes and rescues her from a quote unquote abusive boyfriend by paying him off, and that's how she cons him out of money. So
he finds out,
yeah,
and has sex with her.
Yes. It's
gross.
They were drunk.
They are not related by blood. They are step siblings.
Yes.
That's still wrong.
Yeah. But the kind of what I appreciate about this episode, aside from how freaking hot it is, I'm kidding.
Gross.
Is how
you're gross, Matt. You're gross.
It's developing Boone and Shannon, and it's also
Boone is such a cornball.
He is, yeah. It's also developing...
He cannot do anything right. He's like, I want to help.
It's developing the kind of hero worship kind of...
Yeah, I know. Their relationship,
between Boone and Locke.
Oh, yes,
yes.
Yes.
Locke drugs him and stuff. It's very... It's almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Dishonest to the viewer, because like they have this whole thing where it's like, okay, we've gone half through the season. We've had like 12 episodes, and so we're going to have an episode that is focused on the monster that we're not revealing yet or anything. But no, it's actually a hallucination. None of that matters and everything, because it's all to have Boone like confront his feelings about Shannon and stuff.
Gross, his gross ass feelings.
Yeah. It is a filler episode, but I think there's less to the extent of whatever the case may be was. It does have like some slight bits that are planted.
Slight bits?
Yeah. Slight bits that are planted.
That's my stripper name.
Nice.
All right, next.
Okay, next one. So episode 14.
Next.
Yes. Is Special. A mysterious island beast reappears when Michael and Locke clash. Saeed enlists Shannon to help decipher the French woman's map. So this episode is a Michael and Walt flashback.
Speaks a little bit
yes.
of French.
Because she watched Finding Nemo when she was an au pair in France. So the flashback of it is Michael and Walt. If you remember, there was like the whole thing where he finds out that he's like a struggling artist and she's a high-powered lawyer. His wife, ex-wife. Well, they were dating, and then he finds out that she's pregnant, and then he wants to do everything he can for Walt.
Yeah, she's like
pushes him away.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he wanted to be of dad. He wanted to be involved, and it's not his fault he wasn't there for Walt. And Walt doesn't know that, though, so Walt is resentful.
Walt never met him.
Yeah. And so so Walt's mother died.
Right.
And that's why
before that,
Michael went to go pick her up.
Right.
That's why they were together.
Right. But before that, he had that car accident where he was hit by the car.
Yeah.
And then he had like a bunch of medical bills, and then she came and was like, hey, because she was moving to Australia for work, and he like couldn't or should, I don't know what it was. He was working in construction and a struggling artist. So she came to his hospital where he was, and she's like, hey, I'm paying all your medical bills and everything. I'm seeing someone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I want him to be Walt's, like... Dad. So I'm going to pay your medical bills. You sign over your rights as father.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Just shitty.
Yeah. And he had no other options.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And because he couldn't battle that in court because she's a lawyer and he doesn't have money and everything. Like, he couldn't do that. And even if he could, clearly, he would be fighting a losing legal battle. Mm-hmm. It would be like trying to... it would be like he was claiming that there was fraud in voting.
Stop. I don't want to talk about that.
So...
I'm just exhausted.
Yeah. But the thing that... The kind of more emotional thing that, this is also somewhat of a filler episode to an extent because we're all just waiting for Claire...
Come on. Let's wrap it up. This isn't too rapid.
I know. Claire to come back, but this is a good storyline.
It was good because I like Michael and I like Walt.
Yeah, and
so
it's good.
It was good. And the whole time I kind of been wondering, why? Why is he so resentful? Of his own father,
right?
And he was looking to Locke as a sort of a father figure and didn't want to listen to his dad. And now we know the background there, and it's very sad.
It's so sad, and the emotional crux of it. And this will be the last thing we can go to the new one. But. Is that when she dies, when he finds out that she dies, it's because Brian, the guy who adopted Walt...
Doesn't want him.
Oh
my God, yeah, I remember that.
I just wanted to be with her. I didn't want to sign...
I didn't want to be a dad.
And it's because he has these special powers and everything, and he's gifted in supernatural ways to an extent.
Oh yeah. He's Walt's a weird kid.
Yeah, he's,
he has the vision.
Weird. Yes. And it's it's heartbreaking, because now Walt gets... in a roundabout way, he gets what he wanted from the beginning, but Walt does not know him.
No, Michael gets what he wanted. Yeah,
gets what he wants. Yeah. Walt doesn't know him,
and as far as he knows, his dad abandoned.
Right, exactly.
Them. Yeah, and wanted nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course he would be angry.
Right.
But yeah, okay.
And the great thing, the button on that is that we get the backstory for Vincent. The dog.
Didn't he draw a bunch of cards for Walt, and he showed them to him? When he was in the hospital, he drew...
Oh, yeah, yes.
That was very touching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he finally got the chance to show them to him.
Yes, God.
He's like, I made you a card every day.
Yeah, little drawings of him in the hospital.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Good. Yeah.
Moving on.
The button on that is that Vincent...
One more thing.
Where Vincent was where they're like, well, we can take your dog too. And it's that's Brian's dog. Oh, we'll take him. Stole his dog.
Fuck Brian.
So the episode that we watched today was episode 15, Homecoming.
The triumphant return of Claire.
Claire return episode. After Claire returns with no memory since the flight, Jack and Locke form a plan against her kidnapper, who threatens to kill the other survivors, but not the main characters.
Yeah. Okay. So this dude, this Tom Cruise looking motherfucker. What's his name?
Rom. Ethan Rom, which is an anagram for other man, because he's one of the
other men. Okay.
Come on!
Fuck that guy.
Yes.
Forever. Mm-hmm. What a weirdo. He's great at looking like a fucking weirdo.
Yes.
Every time he appears suddenly, he looks like this.
Yes, and that's great for a podcast. But he does have
lunge,
that look. And the show did a really great job of showing how kind of not animalistic, but how overpowered he was. Because there's a lot of talk about he bested you physically, Jack. You can't fight him one-on-one or anything. He clearly knows the terrain and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're on his turf.
Yeah, and showing that in the show is really well done. You can tell how formidable he is.
So Claire has amnesia.
Claire.
She can't remember anything after the plane.
Right.
So she doesn't remember being on the island. She doesn't remember the crash.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't remember for the 2 weeks that she was gone, what Ethan did to her, where he took her. I think it's very interesting. Of course, we can't have all the answers right away.
Right.
But I'm assuming she's going to get her memory back at some point, and like probably little pieces,
Perhaps.
I'm very interested in finding out what he wanted with her. I'm assuming it has something to do with her baby. And before she was taken, she was having like nightmares that someone wanted to take her baby.
Yeah. Someone wants to take my baby.
My baby. Yeah. So very interested in learning what Ethan or the other people. I'm assuming it wasn't just Ethan. I'm assuming that, I know that there are like others on the island. So what they wanted with Claire, how she escaped, or if they let her go, why. So I'm very intrigued. And why does she have amnesia? Is it just like trauma? Because they even touched on that because amnesia is such a cliche and it hardly ever works that way, know? And so they even said, I think it was Saeed who was talking to Jack, and he's like, how many cases of amnesia have you actually ever diagnosed? Which, first of all, he was a surgeon, so he never would have diagnosed anyone with amnesia. But he's like, yeah, it's rare. And, so I'm thinking it's some kind of trauma that she's undergone.
But I haven't had many patients that survived a plane crash while they're like 8 or 9 months pregnant and then were abducted for 2 weeks by mysterious island inhabitants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very, very specific circumstances that they're in.
So I bought it. Like, it is a cliche. It is.
Yeah, but they weren't relying on the cliche.
Right.
Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
They're even like, come on, this is such a cliche. Like,
right.
We learned some good information about Charlie.
Yeah, it was Charlie's flashback.
Charlie.
There was a nice.
He has already gotten a flashback episode. Can we get a Hurley episode?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming. Probably.
We've gotten 2 Charlie flashback episodes. What happened with Jack's dad's coffin? Remember it was empty?
Oh, yeah.
I'm still holding on to that.
It's all part of the mystery. But
coffin was empty.
Charlie's flashback has a reference to the UK office. So
yeah, I didn't catch that, so yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out.
I'd forgotten about it until it came up. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
I never watched the UK office, so
it's good. The US version
is. I tried to watch the UK version. I was oh
yeah,
it's not funny.
It's what I remember of it. It was funny, but it was.
I mean, it's British humor.
Yeah, it's a little more mean. Like it's mean. Like there's. I don't know. We don't have to get into it, but there's a reference in Lost that was appreciated.
The scene with him, and he's clearly going through withdrawal, and he's trying to get through. He's working for it. He basically has a girlfriend, and her dad is like rich, and he owns like he sells copiers or something.
He has some kind of deal. Like the reference to The Office was that he was
going to buy a paper company
in Slough.
And so Charlie is now selling copiers.
Yeah, but the reason is that she's a mark. Like,
yes.
He is in a relationship with her.
He flirted with her to get close to her so he could steal some stuff, sell it for drugs.
Exactly.
But then he's like, oh no, emotions,
Right.
But the scene where he's giving his pitch to these people trying to sell the copier, and the sweat is rolling off of him. He looks bad.
And like just it's really good makeup effects.
Yeah, honestly. He looked real sick. Yeah. And then he threw up, and he turned around and he just opened the copier and threw up into the copy machine.
In the
okay, you had other options.
Yeah, the physical, like the like kind of. Dizzying or like the physical performance of Dominic Monaghan was really good. Like he definitely sold that he was really out of it.
Yeah.
So the big kind of moment at the end, they bring the guns out. Well, first of all, Boone
can't do anything right. That guy.
Yeah, like him and his playing card shirt. He falls asleep when on sentry duty and.
Then trips the alarm himself.
Steve, yeah. No, I don't think he did.
I think he did. I think when he was, I think that's what happened because that's what brings them all running.
No. What happens is that I think Vincent
trips the alarm. Oh,
and then that wakes him up because he falls asleep, and so he runs into the jungle to try to find it, and then the others come and get him.
Yeah. Either way, he fucked up.
He did.
Yeah, and then so they're like, okay, we're going to use Claire as bait to draw out Ethan, because Ethan he's like, until you bring Claire back to me, I'm going to murder one person every day.
Killed one extra.
And he killed a guy who's not a main character, so we don't have to worry about him. And Hurley gives a touching eulogy.
Yes. It was, it's the kind of running gag, I guess, or I think it recurs a couple of times in the season, is that they confuse the names Scott and Steve.
I remember that, yeah.
And, in that moment, I never really kept track of, what was what or whatever. But, Sawyer says, oh, it looks like Scott.
Yeah, and then Hurley's his name was Steve.
His name is Steve. And then in the eulogy, he's like, Scott Jackson was that, sorry I kept calling you Steve. So he was actually wrong.
Yeah.
And I never really caught that.
Yeah. It's basically interchangeable.
Yeah.
So they're going to in order to not have any of their remaining members killed, they're going to use Claire's bait to try to draw him out. And the plan is they want to take him alive, to get answers out of him.
And so Jack reveals the guns.
So they have 4 guns.
Yeah, 5 guns.
They have 5 guns because they have
the marshals.
Yeah. So it's Jack, Kate, Sawyer, Saeed, and Locke.
Yes.
Go out with Claire, and they're trying to draw out Ethan. Ethan shows up. Scuffle ensues.
Yes.
Jack's gun gets knocked away. Charlie shows up. He had been tailing them apparently, and he shoots the shit out of Ethan.
Yes, and what I really like,
he rage killed him.
Yes, this show does a really good job, at least in these early episodes, of just having kind of just a brutal brawl, and I love the set, the added
just wrestling in the rain and the mud,
wrestling in the rain, yeah, just very very cool. And so because Charlie kills him because he can't take care of anyone, as his flashback girlfriend told him.
But now he can't hurt Claire anymore.
Right.
That's why he did it.
Yeah.
But also now they can't get any information out of him.
Do you agree with Charlie?
No.
That they can't. They couldn't have gotten any information.
I don't know. I think torture is very effective. And it's Saeed. We know he'll do it.
Yeah.
They could have at least tried.
Yeah.
He was definitely more useful to them alive than dead. Also more dangerous to them alive than dead. But there's so much about Ethan that they didn't know.
Yeah.
Because they crash landed on what they believed to be a completely remote, uninhabited island, but this dude was already there for some reason infiltrated. So he's not like some guy who was shipwrecked and oh, thank God you're here. He's been waiting. He mysteriously needed a pregnant woman, and held her captive for 2 weeks, and now she has amnesia. They needed some answers, and they could have at least tried to get something out of him.
Yeah, and you're right. Saeed could have tortured him to get the information out. I didn't think about that when
he was willing to do it before.
When Charlie said we wouldn't have said anything.
He was torturing Sawyer.
I was like, when Charlie said that,
it's very possible Charlie's right. Maybe he wouldn't have given them
consider Saeed torturing him and stuff. I was just like, oh yeah, he's right. And it's it could have been a case of he could have done it. So yeah.
Yeah. So maybe Charlie's right, and it would have been a fruitless endeavor. But I think it was definitely worth it. There was so much. There's so much information that they need that he had.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So.
So what are you looking forward to with Lost?
A Hurley episode.
Yes.
Obviously I want to find out this whole mystery with the implication that there are others on the island that Ethan was working with, that they needed Claire for some reason. She's not safe.
Right.
Until they figure this out. Want her to have that baby already. Come on.
I know, right?
How long are you going to be pregnant? It's like, did you ever watch Family Guy? Bonnie was pregnant for 7 years.
Yeah.
It's just selfish.
I'm looking forward to what's to come. I have an idea, because we're kind of in the latter half of the season.
So we're going to get some kind of big cliffhanger.
Yes. And I kind of want to, next time we reconvene and everything, I want us to watch a couple, and we can watch a couple episodes of Flashpoint also.
Duh.
But I want to watch specifically in the
we'll have to do a day where we just do LOSTPoint.
Yes.
So we can watch 3 or 4 episodes of each.
Yes.
Make a whole day of that.
Yes. Well, what I was getting at was that these next 2 episodes are kind of filler stuff, and then there are episodes that are that would pair well together to do an isolate only target
like a wine and a fine steak.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah. So look forward to that. I think that'll do it for this episode.
Yeah,
So,
I want to go home.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for listening. And
it's officially been 24 hours.
It has been. I'm so sick of you.
Same. Same. Twinsies.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'm glad to have you back on the podcast because it's been so long. So
you're welcome.
Yes. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, you can subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, all that stuff. Kyrsten, do you have any of the live reading stuff coming up that you want to promote?
Yeah, I'm going to be in a play reading next week. This is part of a short series. Local playwright Megan Ann Jacobs has a play that she's been working on for a few years called Coping with Autumn, and basically she's written 2 different versions of this play. It's the same story but 2 different takes. So Coping with Autumn we read last week, and we are reading her second version this week, Coping with Murder. And it's a very interesting Coping with Murder. Interesting take on PTSD and self-defense, and what, like, mental health and abuse, and it's very interesting stuff. So that's going to be on Thursday, November 19th, at 7 o'clock. It's just a Zoom reading.
Yeah.
So you can check out, the Rapture Theater, Facebook page. That is her company.
Rapture Theater.
If you go to the Rapture Theater Facebook page, you can, you can buy a ticket, but it's free.
Right.
It's just to, like, reserve your spot.
Okay.
And it's gonna be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a live read that you guys did of Coping with Autumn. Was that last year or the year before?
That was 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago?
Megan and I were talking about it.
Wait, really?
That was 3 years ago.
Holy shit. Well, yeah, I guess so. Wow.
Yeah. And I was reading a character named Joy, the main character is a woman named Autumn, and she has basically 3 versions of her personality that her coping mechanisms come out.
Yeah.
And so Joy, Joy is one of her personalities. So I was reading Joy. For these 2 readings, the one last week and the one this week, I'm reading Autumn.
Is the version with Coping with Autumn, is that archived and available on YouTube or anything, or is that like...
I don't know if I know she recorded it. I don't know if she recorded it with the intent of posting it. Or if that was just for her because she's workshopping these scripts. Right. She basically needs to know which direction she wants to take this play in.
Okay. Well, yeah. So all the more reason to check it out.
Yeah, check out the Rapture Theater Facebook page
and check out the read that they're doing of Coping with Murder. When I saw that live read 3 years ago, that stuck with me. Like it's a really well done.
It's an impactful piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I really enjoyed that. So, So I'm excited to check out it now with this different version. So, yeah. All right. That'll do it for this episode of The Obsessive
That'll do, pig.
Yes.
That'll do.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy and all that.
Wear your mask, Robert.
Yes.
Buddy.
And everyone else that's listening.
Buddy.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. Kyrsten, how's it going? Anything new for Patreon?
Pizza still hates me.
She does.
She does.
This is the first time.
Guys, I just want to be friends with this cat.
Yes. And
so much.
Because it's been. It's been over a year since you've been over here.
Really? Over a year?
Yeah.
Oh, no, well, we have hung out at my place
we have, yes.
a few times, so it's not like it's been a year since we've seen each other.
Right. Unfortunately.
I can leave.
Well,
I would love to be at home right now.
No,
oh my God, I could take a nap.
Yes.
With my cat.
Mm-hmm. I slept with my cat, so...
You said for part of the night.
For part of the night, because... Okay.
I know it wasn't the whole night, because she came out and pooped a stinky poop.
Well, you know...
And I smell... And the smell woke me up.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Feckus, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone, and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!